Welcome everybody to another episode of Ambush. Clint and Will here. We're going to jump straight into it because we have only 15 minutes to discuss everything that's happened over the weekend. But first, Will, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Clint. I wish I could have played on the weekend, but, here we are.
Well, that's the cards you get dealt sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, had a very relaxing weekend away, so...
That's right, you were at a wedding, weren't you?
I was. Not my own wedding. Some people got confused, but,
Yes. Well, I'm sure there would have been some unhappy people if you actually ditched your own wedding for a store champs.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
Not that it's entirely out of the question. Right. So usually we would review the week in Destiny, but from what I could tell, there's not a lot of Destiny news to report. No new spoilers, no new international news coming out from either Europe, Britain, or America. Have you heard anything, Will, this week?
There was not so much on all the Facebook groups that I follow. I did see some stuff going on about certain people sort of disenfranchised with the game at the moment, but I don't think there was anything really there. Just people whinging about Mill being strong, and I think that's much of a muchness.
Yeah, I think you're right. On the Discord, there's been a lot of people discussing how bad the state of the game is. Well, bad or good, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
I think the thing that surprised me is that, because I'm a regular on the Hyperloops Discord, they are even having a problem trying to find something that beats Mill. So, yeah. I don't know what that means for the next 2 months of this meta. But I guess we can start looking at the store championship results and discuss maybe some countermeasures to that. Since based on the store champs results from across Australia, Mill is very popular.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what happened at Town Hall?
So maybe what I'll do is I'll just touch on the couple of others. So in Cairns, there's a store champs. I'm not too sure of the gentleman's name that won it. I did talk to him briefly, but I've forgotten his name. He won with the 3-wide Mill. And then in Perth, the finals were 3-wide Mill, piloted by Rob Blackstock of the Perth Jawas. And then our very own Blake actually won that with Obi Maz, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I think Obi Maz is a very strong pick at the moment.
Definitely. But let's focus on the Sydney store champs because I was there, so can report more on it. Mm-hmm. So we had 16 players at the Good Games Town Hall store champs. Cut to top 4. We had 3 Elite Yoda, Cassian, Anakin Mill decks, and a what was it again? DJ Towson. Yeah, disgusting removal deck. Piloted by Jackson.
And those were the top 4.
Those were the top 4. With on the bubble was another 3-wide Mill deck. Then we had an Obi Mars, a Thrawn Snoke, piloted by Elmo, and then another DJ Towson deck.
Yeah, DJ Towson very popular at the moment.
Yes. So I actually faced up against Jackson, who was playing DJ Towson, and that game was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I went into that game thinking I actually had a really, really good matchup. So I was on Luke Aayla, and I went into that game thinking I had a really, really good matchup because of all my shield generation. I can just throw every time he removes something, I can just throw
the damage on a
shield. So I was like, okay, this is fine. Let's just make priority to get Shotos online, so every time I activate loot, I've got an extra 2 health to throw that damage on.
Yeah, and you can't really expecting them to be removing more than 2 dice a turn, or maybe 3 sort of late game when they get set up, right?
Well, that's exactly right, and eventually you're going to get to a point where he's going to run out of removal in his hand, and with Luke and Aayla, well, basically all the dice in my deck had 50% damage sites. So when you're getting maybe six to 8 dice out, you're going to expect at least half of those hit some damage. And if he has spot removal to just remove 1 die, you've got 3 damage dice.
Yeah. Now tell us what happened to your dice, Clint.
So basically, my whole day on Saturday was blank city. So I had an all right opening game. The roll still didn't favour me, but I managed to just outburst a 5-die villain deck that before he could get his engine running.
Nice.
And so going into game 2, I was up against Jackson. And just from... Now, I've been reviewing how I've played this game. And I don't know if I misplayed at the start, and whether I shouldn't say misplayed, I should say whether I made the right call. Because he dropped the chance cube on his Talzin, had already rolled out his DJ. I think he hit double 2s.
Oh, yeah.
And then he rolled out his Talzin. I think he might have hit the double 2s on Talzin, and then just focused to the 3 money on the chance cube. So I'm already looking at 8 damage,
this is not a good...
The third action round 1, and I'm like, okay. Generally, my plan would have been to remove the chance cube die, because just to slow down his ramp. Yeah. But then he rolled out 4 2s, and I'm like, I can't take 8 damage to the face round 1.
Can't do it.
It's just like So what I did is I ended up just removing one of the Talzin 2s. Or maybe it was the DJ 2, because it had the double 2s on it. So if I got him to re-roll the DJ, he was less likely to... the Talzin, he was less likely to hit that double 2 again. And so, but what that did is that just set him up for massive 2 to 3, into the crosshair plays that just...
on round 2 as well.
On round 2, yeah.
Jeez.
So, and then every time I rolled out, there was one time I rolled out 2 blanks on the Luke die, feel your anger, remove my Luke die. Again, round 2 or round 3, feel your anger, both Luke die roll blanks, feel your anger. So it was just a game that just really did not go my way.
Yeah, it just ran away with it.
Yeah, and I have to, I hate to admit this, but I was a little bit salty by the end of that game. Because,
I think we can all get that way, right?
Because, and it's through no fault of Jackson's. He played the game the way he was meant to play the game and how his deck was meant to perform. He just got a little bit of help. Yeah. along the way, because that deck just punishes bad rolls. Yeah. So that was the game 2. So I was like, okay, cool, fine. Tried to just drop that game. Go. I've got to win 2 more games. That's fine. Reset. And then of course I come up against Obi Mars, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have a bad win rate against Obi Mars. At the start of the Legacies meta, I was all in on Obi Mars. So I know how to play the deck quite well. I generally know how to play against it quite well. Yeah, back-to-back hyperspace jumps hurts your soul.
Brutal. Yeah.
And I actually got him to a point where I was trailing in the whole game a little bit, and I got to a point where his Obi was super close to death, and I just needed to roll something to kill his Obi. And I think I might have rolled one special on a light bow or something like that, which would have killed him. But of course he could remove it, and then I went to re-roll all my die and just hit 0 damage. So I just had a super unlucky day in the rolls department, unfortunately.
Yeah. What do you think about Luke Aayla? What do you think about Luke Aayla as a deck?
Previous weeks I'd been working on Luke Yoda. So the whole reason I'd been working on Luke Yoda was one, Force Wave. Action? Not even working around the ability power action, but one, I wanted a Force Wave deck.
Yeah.
Because I predicted there was going to be a lot of 3 wide. Mm-hmm. And with Force Wave, and then I'd built it in a way where I could either get Force Wave, like comfortably get Force Wave out round 2, but also get 2 upgrades out on Luke round 1. So I could consistently draw into the upgrades, have my lightsaber pull, so I could at least get double Shoda or Shoda on an ancient on Luke, so he would just wreck face from round 1. The problem being is that a smart player can usually burst down Luke by round 3 still.
Yeah, even with the ancient cycling.
Yeah, and Yoda's just left with nothing.
Yeah.
And Yoda, and in all my testing, Yoda struggled to close out a game. So in that respect, I was like, well, I'm not comfortable taking this deck because Yoda's ability to close out a game in an unknown meta, I just was not really comfortable taking. So I was like, I'll swap out Yoda for Aayla, make a couple of changes. I'll still include Force Wave, and that way I've got 4 very aggressive dice from round 1 that can output easily 4 to 6 damage in round 1 and put me on a good start. And plus you've got 22 health and you get those Shotos out, and either one of them can live forever. Yeah, unfortunately that did not go to plan.
Yep.
The consistency on the dice were just against me the whole match. And I know a lot of people say you can't blame the dice for losing games. I don't really agree with that philosophy. I think sometimes you were just super unlucky in this game.
It's a card game. It's a dice game. Sometimes you just get picked to lose by the universe, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's good to be internally reflective and know that you did all you could, but some days you just roll garbage, draw garbage.
Yeah, and I think outside of that one particular play on the round 1 of the DJ Towson matchup, whether I removed the chance cube, I was pretty confident in the rest of the plays I made. So I don't think there was anything different I could have done. Look, like Store Champs are a whirlwind day. Like, you don't remember every play you make, and sometimes, but I don't remember ever going back. I should have done that instead of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know. It's particularly difficult with like such a consistent deck in theory. You're always wondering like, well, how am I rolling badly with such good dice?
Yeah,
and that sort of gets in your head as well.
Yeah. And I mean, on all of those dice, they're like sides that you want to see. Like Ayla's die are amazing, and the side you probably want to see the least out in round 1 or 2 is either the 2 indirect, is probably the 2 indirect or the blank. But yeah, it's just I've just put it down to it was just a bad day, and moving forward to the next Store Champs.
Nice.
All right, so should we quickly touch on Obi Mars and another deck you wanted to look at?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about how, like, so there's this player, Ollie, and big shout out to Ollie. He came 6th at Town Hall on the weekend. So there was the top 4 of the 3-wide mill, and what did we say the other deck was? The DJ Townsend, piloted by Jackson, got it to the semis.
Yeah.
Oh no, he got it to the quarters. And then
it was only top 4 cut.
Yeah. And then, semis. Yeah, of course. And then there was Dave Mitch on the 3-wide mill at 5th, and then Ollie came in at 6th. And now, like, Ollie's been playing for maybe 6 months to a year. And Ollie beat out Almo, Greg, Josh Bartlett, Dom, old Ben Watson, yourself, his 10-year-old son. Ollie beat out a lot of people with Obi Maz, and Ollie actually came over to my house to borrow some cards for that before for the tournament, and he was like, I think Obi Maz might be a really good pick, and I was like, oh, well, it's pretty strong, it does a lot of damage, and then sort of lent the cards to him and let him go, and I was like, hang on, Obi Maz is really good at the moment, because you don't need weapons. Like, when I played Obi Maz for a few weeks, I played it with a really stripped upgrade package. I played it with I think I played Ancients, 1 Vibro Cutlass, and Speeds, and I think and the handcrafted Libos, and that was it.
Yeah, right.
And that was and people were like, oh, what if you don't draw weapons? And I was like, well, I've got 2 3-side dice on my character. If you get milled, if your weapons are getting milled, in most decks, that's a really bad time. But Obi Maz is just I got half an upgrade. I'm good. I'm good for the rest of the game. And then, of course, the Perth Store Champs, Blake won it with Obi Maz. I was just sitting there I should have known. So I think Obi Maz is a really good pick at the moment. If people want to go bring that back, I think it's the way to go.
So, as I said before, at the start of the Legacy, well, before even Legacies was released, I was on Obi Maz, and just, I was taking it to locals, and I was just wrecking face with it. And then I'm not too sure why I stopped playing it. I think I stopped playing it at around the time Ray Aayla became popular, because I really, really liked Aayla. I didn't love Ray so much, but I really, really loved Aayla from the moment that I saw the card, and I just really wanted to play Aayla. So I kind of dropped Obi Maz, and I think it was a little bit meta dependent. There were so many two wide aggro decks out there that Mars could get just bursted down way too quickly, and then Obi just becomes way too fair. And I think my win rate dropped severely, and I was like, it's not super consistent enough. It doesn't win games consistently enough to be able to take to a store champs or take to a high competitive event. Next minute, we see 3-wide mill becoming a thing, and then it's a deck that 8-0s on day 1 of Gen Con. So it seems like it's just had this big, massive resurgence now, just because it's suitable for the meta. Yeah. Whereas back in Legacies, it kind of died off a little bit. I mean, I know it top 2'd at Euros, but I can't help but think he might have had just some lucky matchups there.
Yeah, and I think it's a deck that really rewards high-level play as well. It doesn't feel like it, necessarily. Sort of anyone can pick it up and play it, throw down a 4-speed, do some action cheating, deal 9 damage. But there's tech cards, like the My Ally is the Force, or the Concentrates, or the Alters and stuff, that just, if you're a really good player, if you're really at the top end of those, I've been playing this game for 10 hours straight and I can still see, if you're one of those people, I think it's a deck that can really deliver. Or if you really want to just push yourself to make the best decisions under pressure.
Yeah. It's I've started playing it again this week, after Blake just going, just play Obi Maz. Because I don't know if many people know the story behind this, but when Blake was trying to decide what to play for Worlds, he would throw everything that he had up against my Obi Maz deck, and I would just absolutely wreck him every single time. And then so he basically audibled to Obi Mars at the last moment. I don't think even going into Worlds he was still going to play Obi Mars. I think it was the night before, once he got to the States and was in the house with the Hyperloops guys, that he went, nah, I'm going to go play Obi Mars. And then I think he ended up going to day 2, and I think he got top 64 from memory.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. But yeah, it's a solid deck. As we go more 3-wide, and like with all these big vehicle decks, I still don't know how it's super positioned, because Aaron Chapman, who's in the Perth meta, played Obi Mars with Blake. They were working on the deck the night before. He got some super bad matchups, played vehicle decks all day, and just got wrecked. Now, again, it goes back to what you say. It's not one of those decks you can just pick up and play, and he hadn't played it before, so inexperience with the deck might have had something to do with it. Because it does have some intricate lines of play. But the vehicle matchup is really, really bad. The vehicle matchup is really, really bad.
I think that the benefit of having hyperspace would mean that the vehicle matchup isn't totally terrible. And also, like, you can kill characters after you have some upgrades out. Like, you can kill characters right away with some action cheating. But I haven't played against vehicles as Obi Maz so much, so maybe it's just a lot worse than I'm imagining in my head.
I think he played a couple of Rex vehicle decks.
Okay.
And I think that could almost keep up with him.
Yeah. Because you've got quite good character dice on those Rex and clones, and you get all the free rolls and stuff. Yeah. And
all it takes is a bad draw or a bad dice roll to put you behind in that game.
Yeah, miss speed, miss weapon, and then...
Yeah. So, I feel like it's not like I said to Blake, oh, you've solved the meta, Obi Maz. But in reality, that's not true. Obi Maz still has some bad matchups, but I think against the field at the moment, it's a bit of a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to, ironically, a vehicle deck? Rose Jetta.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna do a bit like I did last week, a bit of a lightning deck review. Thanks to Paul Reeves for sending this in. Paul Reeves done. What did he say? He's came top 4 at a Store Champs. He went 4-1 at Store Champs, finished 4th in Swiss, and then unfortunately lost out there. But he's also, I think he's come 2nd at locals with it as well. Or won weeklies with it. But so he's got a Jetta Partisan and Rose deck. And I was really interested to see this because I'd sort of seen it. Josh played it at Bondi. And I think this is a really good deck to watch at the moment as well, particularly if more support for it comes out in Across the Galaxy. So it's got Elite Rose, 2 Jetta Partisans, and a long-term plan or a plot of your choice. I think long-term plan's probably the best. It's got Maz's Goggles, 2 second chances, and that's the only upgrades. That's a single Maz's Goggles, and then it's got 15 supports, and it's got a full spread of supports, which I thought was interesting at first, but then, of course, when I talked to Paul, he's like, oh, I'm playing around Flames of the Past, right? So he has a lot of one-of upgrades in there, like one-of supports in there, so like 1 Arc, 1 Fang, 1 Hailfire, 1 Hawk, and 1 Pod Racer. And then he's got the full suite of events like Easy Pickings, Entangle, Field Medic, Friends in Low, etc. Now, I thought this was a really good deck, not just because, you've got the Yellow Hero removal suite, you've got good suite of vehicles, and you can play around Flames of the Past, you can play around some of those annoying mill cards, but it's also got the mill win condition. Because you're proccing those Jetta Partisans every turn, right? You're proccing 2 of them every turn. You've got 2 second chances, so they'll live forever, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I put in the pod racer, and then when I come up against the mill, I just switch to mill. And I'm like, okay, so you switch to mill against the best mill deck in the game, and that works out for you. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, what? What? I was just amazed. I was like, this sounds amazing. And I sort of I kept thinking over it. I was like, yeah, that can definitely work. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to go into a store champs knowing that my only way to beat one of the best decks was to try and beat it at its own game. But long-term plan, for example, gets all your discard sides to an immediate remove. Once it's got 2 or 3 resources on it, even if it's got 2 resources on it, if you roll a 1 discard and you can just burn them for 3 every turn, that's insane. Modified Hawk.
I feel like that on the mill versus... I feel like on the mill versus mill plan, it's still mill slower.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's brave, but I don't know. I think with the backup of being able to just chip some damage in there so you never lose on time.
Yeah.
And maybe you just end up doing enough damage to kill a character or something as well.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If you can mill and then try and get Anakin down, you're probably in a pretty good spot.
Direct some damage to Anakin. Maybe they're like, oh, he's only doing indirect, but a lot of those vehicles have ranged sides as well. It can just build up pretty quickly.
I mean, it's a deck that I've seen, and I know people have been playing. It's not one that I've played myself. I've kind of gone off the vehicle plan at the moment, because of the whole mill thing.
Vehicles should beat mill, though, right? Maybe.
The problem is all your vehicles get milled before you get them out.
Yep, and hyperspace when that rotates out. Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait.
Vehicles will be back, baby.
I can't wait for Awakenings to rotate out. There is so much broken stuff in Awakenings that.
Oh yeah. And just game-defining cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is a really good sleeper deck. Paul said for me to ask him any questions about particular cards before I went on the podcast, and there's actually none here that I'm like, oh, that just shouldn't be in the deck. Often I read a deck list and I'm like, oh, well, that's terrible, I would never play that. And I'm looking at this deck and I'm like, no, this is pretty much exactly what I would play.
That's good.
Yeah. Maybe we can post that up. I'll see if Paul doesn't mind us posting that up with the episode.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd be interested to have a look at that. I mean, it doesn't have my staple blue hero in it, but actually, this was one thing I was thinking about this particular deck, is swapping out one of the Jeddas for a blue, and getting the
Force Illusion.
Yeah, getting the rainbow going, and the caution.
Yeah.
You've purely got it in there for caution and Force Illusion.
Yeah.
But whether you could put and I really want to make Ezra 2 work. Not at elite, just a single die Ezra, and just abusing his power action for draw.
I reckon that
really is
good.
Super strong in a vehicle deck. I think that's going to be super, but no one's just been able to crack it yet.
I have a Ray and 2 friends deck that I've been working on that has Elite Ray, single dice Ezra, and then single dice someone else as well.
Ray 1?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
No, Ray 2.
Oh, okay, alright.
So it's 15, 8, 7. So
15, 8, 7.
There's only one option.
Yeah, that's true.
Yellow hero.
Yeah. I've also been looking at trying to do a 3-wide Luke 3 deck as well, but I haven't quite found the combination. I've also been looking at maybe doing something that's similar to the 3-wide mill, but in aggro deck. So maybe doing something like Elite Aayla, single die Cassian, single die Ezra 1, or something along those lines.
Oh yeah.
So you've got a big massive health pool, and you've got pretty aggressive die across the 2 big characters.
Yeah.
And then you've got Ezra, who is just like a bit of a
Into the garbage chute target.
I don't know what you call it. He's just there for garbage chutes. You can chuck force powers on him if you need to, and he's like a pseudo second Cassian die to some degree. Like the +2 is a bit of a pain, but he's got a double disrupt on there, which I mean you could equate kind of to discard just to kind of mess up your opponent's resource management. So I don't know. I haven't put a list together. I mean, there's only so many blue and yellow cards that you can throw together anyway that are playable. But I just feel, but it's probably more going to be something if we start edging towards a more heavy aggro meta anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm really interested to see where the meta goes after this. I know Jacob's not playing Mill anymore, but that's not going to stop anyone else.
Yeah, but everyone else that wants a win is going to play Mill.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty, well, that's probably all we have time for.
Yeah, that's definitely all we have time for. So, thanks for sitting down and chatting with me, Will.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, and we'll catch everyone next week.
Yeah, see you next week, everyone.
See ya.